also way more believable if there's specific numbers in it. How do you get very satisfied clients, both buyers and sellers, to actually share a testimonial? It changed everything for him. Like he became like my biggest referrer, biggest supporter.
That's what the win looks like. Like, how many spots in your business can you do that to?
Just like those little things that add that personality to it, makes them relate to you a little bit more. The key part of that email is saying why. So like, why did you pick it? What's your insight behind it?
Okay, we're up. And this is the leads or shit. And it's every week with Andrew and myself. Well, Andrew sometimes
Yeah,
he shows
I'm
up
back
when he feels
when it's
um
convenient.
he is the owner of Real Estate Magazine, the founder of Just Sell Homes, a real estate marketing company so that realtors can just sell homes. And myself, I'm Taylor Hack. I am in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I am a realtor that is a team leader, and I'm a real nerd when it comes to things like sales. And I like to talk to Andrew about marketing. So we showed about it.
Yeah,
Is that right?
close enough.
And we love that people are coming along and hanging out. We had
Yeah.
a couple of my friends stop by while Andrew was out of town. So, Andrew, where the hell were you? Were you anywhere
Uh,
to talk about, or is this like embargoed information?
I posted on social, so it's not that embargoed.
Okay, fine.
No, so I was in Sudbury, which was actually a lot of fun. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, like what's there to do in Sudbury? I actually had a great time. So if anyone goes to Sudbury, you have to look up Porchetta Bingo and try it out. It's a lot of fun. But
You know
great
that
group of
awkward
people.
moment when an MC decides how people are going to eat at a buffet,
Yeah,
right? They solved that with bingo, and you
yeah,
have to like win your food.
yeah. It was a great idea. Basically, you play a modified, shorter version of Bingo, and the prize is a pound of porchetta. And that's how you eat that night is you have to win a round. So we had fun, between me and Matt Hastings, who actually was on an episode, we had 5 pounds of porchetta that night.
Ooh,
It was
that's pretty good.
it was pretty good.
Hey,
Right what you want before you go on stage, just like a good meat sweat.
that's
But no,
totally
it was good.
that's how I roll.
And then one of my favorite things to do, just we happened to come up. I went up a couple days early because I sat down with Steph Villeneuve, who has a brokerage up there and a team, and we basically just 2 days, like 9 to 5, broke down and rebuilt his entire marketing strategy. So it was like a fun spend 2 days with him in his office, and we just ripped it apart and built it back up. So it was a really cool because he has a bit of a hybrid where it's like a team-based brokerage, but then they can also do their own business. Like he's kind of doing a hybrid version of a team brokerage. Um,
That's interesting because I've
yeah,
seen a couple of teamerages at the highest level, right?
yeah,
Like I've seen it where there's over 100 people in a brokerage, but they all play on one team.
yeah,
And really, that's like that was a phase in real estate. That was the original brokerage. Was the broker was kind of like a team leader, and
yeah,
it's morphed from there. Now it's morphing back.
yeah.
Hey, we got Miles from Lethbridge leading off the chat here. Miles and his brother Ryan are in
Yeah,
Lethbridge. Good to see you guys and good to hear from you guys earlier today.
yeah,
And then Anthony Brown.
yeah. Nice to see you. I was chatting with him earlier in the DMs. It's
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
amazing, Anthony. So
yeah.
if you are in the chat, if you guys are watching live, please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Real estate is a location-based game. So knowing that really helps us out. And hi to everybody's AI that shows up here and
We do
records.
have a bunch of those
We
in the chat.
appreciate you. I hope I summary well,
Yeah,
right?
I hope you're actually looking at that. It's just not because it auto joins everything in your calendar.
I
Just
hope you
probably
have
what it is.
a custom GPT
Yeah,
that is just mean as all get out. I hope
yeah.
like they allow like they literally says, did Andrew and Taylor say of anything of value today?
No, no.
Nada. But great to see everybody. So while you were gone, we had Andy C stop by.
Yeah. Well, I was here for Andy.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
While you were gone, we had
Yeah.
Glenda Baker stop by.
Yes.
You were here for Andy, and
Yeah.
then we had Glenda, and I love hanging out with those guys. Like
Yeah.
I talk to Andy and Glenda all the time. And it is fantastic to see them also exchange with each other because they're
Yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Glenda Baker has a phrase for everything. The way that she drives home what she's trying to do and how conscious she is inside of conversations. It's really something to see. And the same thing with Andy. He really understands the essence of make the important thing the important thing.
Yeah. He had some just interesting thoughts on like how to do business too, right? Like just different ideas, like how he does not and has no intention of working his database. right? Like to me, that'd be like such a no-brainer switch for him, but he's so confident in his like, no, I don't. They see my branding.
So after spending time with some like real top level agents,
Yeah,
what I find is that a lot of them are extremists. So
yeah,
they do one thing so well, and so much of their business compounds towards that one thing that doing it any less doesn't actually make sense for them because everything is pointing one way.
yeah,
But I think that a lot of us would want a more well-rounded business, or it's more effective for us to have a well-rounded business because we wouldn't be as extreme as Andy is.
yeah. Now I think there's a point where like if you wanted to grow past a certain level, and now he's at a pretty high level already, he'd
Hmm.
have to bring that in. Uh,
Hmm.
like if he like 'cause he's around 300, I think he was saying deals a year. If you wanted to get up to like a Mark Ferris 1,000, you'd probably have to bump that up, I would think.
Yep. And that could be like where those things, like where
Yeah,
there are efficiencies changes. And also, I think it's neat to see the way they pull to their strengths.
yeah,
So Andy knows that his strength is his market credibility and also his sales ability. So pulling people in through his open house system, his criteria to meet with people is whether or not they're ready to sign agreements today or tomorrow.
yeah.
Like it's cool.
I like it. And by the way, just everyone here, as a reminder, ask questions. Like you're here live. You can watch the recording if you're not going to engage. So ask us questions if you want. Get involved. Or just, talk about how ruggedly masculine I look, and we can just all enjoy and appreciate. Um, so we're gonna do something today we talked about, which was we're gonna have you a little bit self-grade your business on a couple core pieces. So we've been on our end building out what we're calling the ACE marketing framework, which is a rebrand from the Wheelhouse and then narrowed down. And it's kind of like the topic of the webinar I'm doing on the 18th. But it'd be interesting to have you kind of grade yourself. So
Give
the
myself an F, mostly
across
just
all of
because
it.
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
feel
might
like
give you an F.
inside my comfort zone. That's fair.
So we're we're gonna
You
do it
will. You should
on
watch the
a
first website review.
We're gonna do a
Uh,
traffic light grading system. So you're get red for terrible, green for great, yellow for it's not bad, but can definitely improve it. So
hmm,
basically the way that we're looking at grading this is the idea of basically trying to get as many listings as you can. So this is a listing focused approach, but it still would work for buyers too. So when we're building out the system, we kind of identified the three key points of like where people struggle with this, which is consistent leads, a conversion process, and then staying in touch with your database without being annoying. Like if you can
mhm.
solve those three problems consistently, you're good. So the first part to solve the lead flow, we break that down into three components in our system. So we're going to start with where I know the first one you're going to be green, so we'll still go through it for everyone else, but I already know your answer here. So this is picking the right people, aka your niche.
Okay. So yes, we have a niche that we are after, or an ideal client profile that we know very well.
Yeah. So that one, green, not into me a question for you. So the second one is clear offers. So this is clear offers you have for people. And this can be as simple as like I use Mark Ferris here as an example a lot. Because I don't know how many people are like, no, home evaluations are dead. Like too many people do them. He gets up to 1,000 plus deals a year, mainly just offering people free home evaluations and his VIP buyer program. So what we say is like everyone should have at least one buyer, one seller offer. They don't have to be complicated, but just like anytime someone reaches out or you talk to people, marketing goes out, you have things that they're going to give you their information for. That's not just, hey, if you're thinking of buying, selling, leasing, investing, reach out to us. Like an actual, here's something you can get and why you should reach out. So, how'd you
Hmm.
grade yourself on clear, simple offers?
Simple offer on the sales side, it would be what's your house worth?
Yep. And do you have a buyer side one?
A buyer side one, I actually don't think that we talk about that as clearly, right? Like When we talk about it on the inside, we have a very clear process. We
Yeah.
do a buyer blueprint. We have the things that you should have to talk about this on the outside,
Yeah.
but I don't think that we're talking about as much on the outside.
So we'll start for you like a yellow there.
Okay.
So because like you are probably a green on the homie val, it's pretty straightforward, but got to nail down and promote the offer side.
Hmm.
We'll say I'm actually gonna write this down because I'll send you a bunch of stuff after and get your feedback on it. Because why not, right? And then old fashioned legal
Well,
letter.
this is what we're going to work on. Like to
Yeah.
recap, Andrew and I have been talking about different elements. So we
Yeah.
ended up reviewing my website and I changed my website. Now my website's up and coming, and I always think that things are valid when they've made their first kill. And really, my website is bringing in leads, and we are turning those into appointments, and that's what we're looking for.
What you want?
But we're in this transition period as well, so we're building other things. We're starting an email list called the Hack and Code Insiders, where
Yeah.
people are getting announcements. So we ran our first, like, what I call a shitty first draft, um, with a listing a couple of weeks ago, where we started to make announcements related to us releasing information as we worked on listing launch week or into that 72-hour period. Because what the essence of this email list is coming soon is limited to 72 hours when you do it publicly. But if you're doing it one to one, if you're doing it in more controlled ways, you can actually go further with that, which means that you create value with exclusive information and you can sell access to that value. What we're selling it for is their information. I'm just making a trade. I have exclusive information. I see your name, email, and phone number as being exclusive. Let's make an exchange.
Yeah. At some point, we're gonna share your first email. We should, and we can talk about how we can make it better.
I definitely want to. So that's the plan. Is
Yeah.
that we're going to go through and score me on a few things. Now I'm going
Yeah.
to score a lot yellow because I'm in
Yeah.
transition. Like we used to be a shop that was working with a boxed lead generator called Wailopo. We've
Yeah.
also worked with other companies that are really good, like Perfect Storm, Curator. We worked with some of the top tools in real estate, right? And now I'm at a phase in my career and I've got this great friend in Andrew. And for your viewing benefit, we can kind of decode a business that's already running. Like my business does well over 100 transactions, well over 150 transactions every year, uh, so that you can see what you want to build and how you want to change things and, in fact, score yourself. So we gave me a yellow on where my buyer offer is
Yeah. But
because
you're
I have
green
some
on the
awesome
seller.
stuff in my buying experience. It
Yeah.
gets 5-star reviews all the time. I'm not talking about it on the front end enough.
But the buyer offer isn't necessarily like related to hiring you. It's just something that brings buyers out of the woodwork,
Mhm.
right? So like at your size, you can use your listings a lot for that, but it could also be like access to the off-market stuff and things like that. But we'll get into that when we
So
break
that's
that
where we're
down.
shooting. Like when we
Yeah.
talk to the market, we talk to them about being the highest rated and reviewed real estate team on Rank My Agent.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is sell credibility or make the argument, save yourself from a 3-star experience in real estate.
Yeah.
And that may be too abstract. Like that might be a great brand message,
Yeah.
but it's not working to get people to
Branding
call us
good.
today.
Yeah, like that goes into the next section for the last section here of like getting consistent leads, which is content that connects, which is can you do regularly put out content with people that gets them engaging with you? And that engagement is not a like. It's saves, shares, DMs. It's you meeting people and be them telling you, I love your content, right? Like if I'm out somewhere, like to me, it's a huge sign of like stuff's working. If I'm out at an event or and people are like, oh yeah, I love your videos, or like we just because it's not real estate related, but my buddy owns a CrossFit gym and I do some like help with him and he lets me work out for free. So it's a nice exchange. But the amount of times that he gets new members now who are just like, yeah, I joined because I just see your stuff everywhere.
That's a
And
win.
yeah, but because it's just like a local gym, it's not expensive. Like I think we spend like $700 a month on his ad spend for him. Um,
And don't get us wrong, we love those people that have
yeah,
those repeat referral businesses. We love that
yeah,
you do that, but sometimes it's an evidence that you're not marketing enough,
yeah.
right?
So
Like you're like that's all working parts. So
yeah,
now there was one other thing that I wanted to for context. When we're talking about my ideal client profile, I want you to imagine the people that are shopping at Costco, okay? It's normally a couple with kids. One of them is a professional, and the other one sometimes is, but sometimes not. If we were to look at their family, financially, they tend to buy one car at a time, but they buy it new. They also really value the neighborhoods and locations that they're in because they're child focused, and they tend to be on the upswing. Think about people that are probably 20 to 50% higher average household income than my general marketplace. That's who we want to talk to and who we want to build products for.
So we have a question here from Icy. I think I said that right because I think I remember you writing the pronunciation earlier. Um, Aishi. Okay, I was wrong, but closer than I thought. Okay, so it says on the subject of reviews, how do you get very satisfied clients, both buyers and sellers, to actually share a testimonial? I get praise often, but it's very hard to get the clients to put it in writing. While I do appreciate referrals, I'd like to build up my testimonial. So I'll share my thoughts and then you share yours after, because I just happened to do some stuff. I actually just put out a YouTube video, shameless self promo on this topic. That's why it's top of mind. So I would literally just send them an email asking them for the favor of giving you a review, but it's how you word it, it's really important because like you want reviews, but you also don't want the reviews like if I'm Taylor, I don't want 50 reviews that just say Taylor was awesome, Taylor was amazing. I want to word it in a way that I get a valuable review too and makes it easy on them. So the email has to include the link to wherever you want them to lead it, whether it's Rank My Agent, Google Reviews. You need it like the direct go here and do this. And then how I word the actual request is like I know sometimes people get writer's block when they're trying to think of what to say in something like this. So I'm just including a few bullet points behind to give you some ideas to help you write a better, like to help you write the review. And then I remind them of like the stats of the sale. So I'll be like, we got the house ready for sale in X amount of time. We had this many showings, this many offers, and here's what you got compared to your expectations. So I kind of just lay it out very nicely. Because I find when you lay that out for them, it makes them way more likely to mention those things. So like we don't want to write it for them. We want them to write it in their own words, but we want to kind of give them the framework of what to talk about. And I typically will base that around what people talk about as like what they want on an agent, right? So like I try to add in those pieces that are almost like objection handlers for people thinking about me. But I'll
Hmm.
just put that right in there with as specific numbers as I can get because I want those numbers because they're also way more believable if there's specific numbers in it.
Hmm. So there's a few things here that I kind of look at. So first off, what you're kind of shooting for is to get 5-star reviews. At first, I would say prove that you can get them like 85% of the time before I'm going to start to ask for anything more than just give me 5 stars. Because you have to know that by the time you get 30 and 40 Google My Business 5-star reviews, you're in rare air. Like you are now beyond the majority of the marketplace around you, and that's where credibility begins. Okay. Um, so you just want to land that 5-star more than anything else. In my last quarter of production, if you took 5-star reviews and compared them to the number of transactions I did, the number would be about 300%. So that means that I'm averaging at 3 5-star reviews for every house I sell. So that's what my system produces. The way to get 4-star reviews is to just send somebody a link to review you without any conversation because they view the review as an opportunity to give feedback. The most important thing is that I separate that to give me feedback and support me with a 5-star review. So that's going to be like part of my game plan. And then the other part of it will be to look for when they want to do things for me. And I find that there's definitely a part of their experience that is the highlight or the climax or the win. And that's at condition removal. So when the deal goes firm is the most important position to be in. Now, if I was shooting for 5-star reviews in the beginning, I used to deliver people moving boxes at this point. And that was part of like my service. And I would deliver them about $150 of moving boxes and the wraps and things like that from Home Depot. But the visual I was going for is somebody dressed in dress clothes, bringing you moving gear that physically marks this moment of you moving. And then people would be like, thank you, which is one of the most powerful moments. And at that moment, I would say, hey, is there anything I can do different or better? Is there anything that you think that I should try? And sometimes you'll get comments like, hey, when I went to your brokerage, there was no parking. Oh, yeah, you know what? I could talk to my broker about that. That's not the first time that came up. All I have to do is listen and address it, right? And then once that part's done, is now when they say thank you, and I say, hey, would you be open to supporting my business with a 5-star review? And I send them an email, and in the email, it gives them the opportunity to review me in two different places. And you'd be surprised at how often people are like, yeah, you know what? I sent it to my spouse, or I sent it to both of them. And each one of them give me a review, and one of them gives me a review in two places. That can be a big win.
Yeah, so just a funny little story. This was back when I was selling, and it'll date me based on how I'm the details of the story. I had a client, and I recommended a home inspector for them, and he was loving me up to this point. We got him like an off market, like I found an off market house on the one street he wanted, perfect spot, like thrilled with me. And then I recommended the home inspector, and the home inspector gave him a CD with the report, and completely turned the entire thing for him of just like, oh, like I wouldn't even have hired this fucking guy if I knew I wouldn't get a paper report. Like, what do I want a CD for? He's like, this is like, and he was like actually a little bit upset. Like he wasn't directing it at me, but you could see it like soured him. Just the fact that he got a CD over a paper report, and I got a copy of the CD too from the inspector. I just drove to Staples, printed it out, put it in a binder, it cost me $7, and drove it back. And that he from that moment on, like it changed everything for him. Like he became like my biggest referrer, biggest supporter, never shut up about how great it was. Called my broker to be like, you got to make sure this guy is getting more. Like it was just like that literally it took me 10 minutes because his house, like Staples was the end of the street that he was on. I just drove over, brought it back and just like I bought a $3 binder that I put it in. And little
You
things
just
like that
understood
go a
what
long
was
way.
important to him,
Yeah.
right?
I
And that
listened.
created that like moment that ignites that ability.
Yeah.
And then all you want to do after that as a strategy is to make the way for them to kind of almost like reciprocate really available. So you
Yeah.
should have an email template you can send from your car that, or a text that will have links for this. But that's the breakdown of it.
Yeah.
So Andrew, we were talking about reviewing our business, or
Yeah.
reviewing my business.
So we're on the content that connects
Just
part.
scored
So
an amber, so I've got a green and an amber. Not
yeah,
looking good for me.
that's actually pretty good. A lot you'd be surprised at how many reds people have here. So content that connects, which is a big one, which is essentially, are you putting out content that is one that like people are enjoying, they're finding valuable, and is it driving people to take the offers that you have? So are you getting
This is where
inquiries?
we're finally getting some sparks.
Yeah,
Okay. So I do a post talking about where I'm about to do listing appointments.
yeah,
And it says, it shows like a Google map picture is the background. It's got
yeah,
my goofy like promo picture in the front. And then it says, I'm meeting someone tomorrow to talk about selling in Forest Heights or whatever the neighborhood is.
yeah,
And then I paste a poll, do you want updates? And people can select yes or no. The way that we work it is that we can see the people that participate in the poll, and Instagram makes it really easy for you to then message them. And then I message them and I actually tell them, like, oh, yeah, I went and walked through the place. It was super great. The seller looks like they'll be ready in about 6 weeks. Uh, I'm not sure if this house fits what you're looking for. Do you know what you're looking for? And then some people will use that as an opportunity to tell me, and then I can move them to phone and away we go from there. But I'm actually getting a lot of shake from my past clients. And then I'm getting like my sister's looking for a place and different elements like that. So those are the things that I've found where I caught a little bit of sizzle. Once in a while, I'll find things that worked, but I change not frequently, but I change after time. Like when my market was lame, I was doing this market minutes update where I would talk about a neighborhood, and I always started it the same way. This is Taylor, and this is Forest Heights, or whatever neighborhood I was going into.
Don't do that.
Actually, that was what came back to me. So, not don't do that, but people would be like, "Oh yeah, this is Michael, and now we're in like Glen Redding or wherever we are."
Yeah, if it's
So
like a signature sign off, sign on thing, that's a little
it
bit
was
different.
just how
But
I started all of
yeah,
them.
typically I just
Yeah.
say in your videos, don't bother saying your name because your name's on the accounts they're seeing it on.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't do an
yeah,
introduction like my name's
yeah,
Taylor and I'm a realtor, but that's how I started these, and it turned out the
yeah,
tagline kind of worked. I
yeah.
also used to do this thing that was kind of I don't know, like I thought it was an Easter egg, but you tell me. I used to do this promo called Shop Talk Tuesday, and I would do like a real estate definition,
Yeah.
and then on purpose, I would end the video with "See you next Tuesday." And
Yeah.
for those people that
To
know,
get it.
that's like
Wildly inappropriate.
for a foul
Unless you're
word
Australian,
or
then it's a Tuesday.
foul word. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I ended up getting like I had an appointment where this actually came up.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Hey, listen, me and my buddy, we watch your videos and we have a bet. And the bet is whether or not you know like what that sign off is."
Yeah.
And I kind of gave him like the wink and the nod, and he
Yeah.
won his buddy's bet and I won his lifting.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, like so stuff like anything like that in your videos that kind of still keeps them engaged, but gives them that extra little bit like I know that guy. Like as an example, like I did not do this strategically. I just got it because I love the movie. Like the amount of business this actually gets me having this in the background where people like come on to a sales call and they'll start talking to me about Dumb and Dumber. Like it's
Yeah.
wild. Like to the point like my front door is right there. So like if you walk into the foyer of my house, this is one of the first things you see. And my wife does not like that. But because her desk is there, she eventually was just like, yeah, I literally hear all the time on your sales calls how effective it is because she overhears them. And she's like, yeah, I can't have you get rid of it. Like the ROI on this is like I can actually track it's like a 40% increase in sales because I started tracking it if someone mentions this at the beginning of a call because then it just breaks the ice. We start talking, and it's just like those little things that add that personality to it, makes them relate to you a little bit more. Or like during COVID, I started this like running gimmick in my videos where I had like a pop culture shirt on. So the first one was Callahan's Brakes, Sanford, Ohio. Um, and it just happened to be, I just happened to be wearing that shirt that day, which is a Tommy Boy reference. And as I'm wearing it, someone like commented on it, and then like five people responded, being like, "That's awesome. I love that." And then so the next time that I did a perfect, I went and grabbed a different one. I grabbed the Average Joe's Gymnasium shirt, and then I did a Purple Cobra shirt. And it got to a point I actually started ordering as many pop culture reference shirts as I could. And every video, I just have a different kind of one that you have to know the movie to get it because it never says the movie on it or show, and that bumped engagement and kind of how people felt about it a lot because it's like they're in
Totally agree.
on the joke there. And then I did like a big one when I stopped where I actually wore all the shirts at once, and like every 2 minutes into the video I took one off. And I was like, all right, now everyone's in on it. And then I stopped because I was like, I just can't, I don't have room for more t-shirts. But it was good. Like those little things that just build that relationship and the kind of relatability. And Craig, I'm whichever one you're not. You can be the other one.
There you
Next,
go.
next Craig and Cindy Gala. I think we know what our tuxes are going to be.
Yeah, yeah. And I highly recommend Dumb and Dumber for movie night. You just got to get like an adults only one.
Well, I've been debating with my wife. So our youngest daughter's going to be 9 this year. When is appropriate to show Dumb and Dumber? Because I know she'd love it. But I'm doing the like, there's a few scenes I'm not sure I want her to see.
Definitely. I just had a run in this way where my kids were doing car karaoke in my car,
Yeah.
and they were singing this song, and I hadn't heard the song before, and then I started seeing the lyrics, and the song is
Oh.
called Pink Pony Club, and it is not about girls with pink ponies. It's not.
I had that recently with Sabrina Carpenter. I did
Mm.
not know because I didn't listen to Sabrina Carpenter. I did not realize how dirty her lyrics can be.
Yeah.
So, but my daughter, just because of like I guess there's a connection there with Taylor Swift. They're like, can we listen to Sabrina Carpenter? And when I drive to Taekwondo, I let them pick the music. So I put on Sabrina Carpenter, and I'm driving, so I can't even change it outside of like change the song. So I ended up just turning off the radio, but it was like there's something along the lines like the lyrics. She can taste me on your mouth when she kisses you. And
Yeah.
my daughter, who was 6, goes, "Daddy, what does that mean?" And I was like,
Means never mind.
that means lipstick, like flavored lip gloss. Anyways, back
Okay,
to
so how many traffic lights are we
topic.
at?
Yeah.
Where,
So
what's the
what do you
traffic
say you
light
are for
situation?
content? Yellow, green, red.
Oh, I think that I definitely think that we're in the yellow. I think that we have
Okay,
room for improvement there, but we're definitely getting people to DM us and join our newsletter.
deal. All right. So that if you nail those three, they're green. That's when you get that consistent lead flow. So that's where we're
Yeah.
pushing there.
And as an update, we have 9 people on this newsletter so far. We just started it, so we'll probably be
Early.
updating you as this goes on, but 9 is somewhere.
So maybe next week we go over one of the emails you sent out.
I'd be into that.
All right, and we'll rip it apart for everybody. We'll get that green on the spot.
Yeah, we'll
Okay, so
start
the
deep in the
next
red.
one is the conversion side. So how to turn it into easy conversion for you. So the first one is what we call hand raisers. So this
Mm.
is in your follow-up, in the message you go out, which one, and like for example, like any emails you send out to like leads that have been around for a long time. What do you have that gets prospects to put up their hand and say like, yes, let's talk more? That's what we're looking for is that like, yeah, I
In
want to talk to you.
Q1,
Yeah.
the whole idea is how should we treat you this year?
Yeah.
So we want people to feel as though they are the co-pilot on whether or not they'll get more or less marketing. And we've been talking to them already, so they're already marketing qualified leads, and we're asking
Yeah.
them to become sales qualified leads by responding to how should we treat you this year? If you're interested in real estate, we want to know. We're ready to help you, and if you're not, let's turn down the follow up.
Yeah. I like that.
And then as we get into the spring, we use the 9 word email a lot.
Okay. And
So
is it
that's
like
the
the
way that we're.
traditional, are you still looking to buy a home or are you doing variations of it?
Uh, we sometimes do a Q like sentence.
Yeah.
Like there's a priming sentence. So maybe the sentence is, "Are you looking to buy or sell real estate in Edmonton this year?" But the Q could be having trouble finding a house. Are you still looking like because that's a big problem in my market right now.
Yeah. Okay. So how would you rank yourself on hand raisers?
I'd say I'm pretty good.
Okay.
We definitely work our database and call through and stuff like that.
Okay, so we'll put green on that for now. Um, so now the next one is long-term nurture. So those are the leads in the database that they're nowhere near moving, but you got to make sure you're there when they're ready and you're top of mind. So like for me, this is like a weekly email I'm a big proponent of. How do you rank yourself on the long-term nurture side of things?
For people that are just leads to us, they get a monthly email.
Okay.
And then depending on their timeline, if they're in that long term, they really only get a monthly email.
Okay. Like I
So our
would
frequency there might be lower than we could be.
Yeah, like to me, that's one that I would definitely change. Like, if you're not ready to go to a weekly one yet, I would at least go to like a bi-weekly. But like, I did this. Like, JSH was like monthly newsletter years and years ago, and then I was like, I knew I had to email more, so I went to bi-weekly, um, and then
We
I
have
went to
tiers.
weekly, and
We have
each time
tiers
it
in
got
our
better.
database though. So if
Yeah,
they're like a past client,
yeah,
they're getting a monthly and they're getting a quarterly with sale examples in their area.
yeah.
So we do have some ways we're touching our database more than we're touching leads that are in this long-term
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah. So like, and there's a couple parts to it, right? Of like what you can do from a weekly newsletter for the segments. So like we typically recommend one of two weekly newsletters, or in some cases, depending on how your database segment is, you actually do both. So the one that's like especially for the database is kind of like what we've talked about in the past of you're almost like the town newspaper for your database of your past clients of like here's what's going on in Edmonton, here's like what you need to stay on top of, events that are happening, and there's a real estate section in that newsletter. But that's just like one part of the overall thing, but it's more just even if you have no intention of moving, you still want to open this email because it's valuable. That's email type one. Now, for like this one, next one works a lot better for your leads, which is essentially a deal of the week style email, which is, and it doesn't have to be like actually the best deal of the week. It could be here's my favorite house of the week, or like depending on your niche, be like here's my favorite hard loft conversion or something like that, right? Like it's finding your niche, what's the type of home they'd want. Here's the best one on the market, or like three, or you can do it as a sold thing. Like here's the most impactful solds in the last week in Edmonton. And then but the key part of that email is saying why. So like, why did you pick it? What's your insight behind it? Because one, you're showing them opportunities, but then you're also proving to them you're an expert.
Mm.
So you add those things together, and that works really well. So like you can either do one, but or both depending on the segment. And that's really for like people more of like a what's a capacity. Like in an ideal world, yeah, you'd probably do both of them. And you could even give people the choice of do they want to be on one or both and different things like that. Um, so there's a lot of options there for people, but that's how I would look at it is like you got to have weekly because like let's give you the example of like if I don't hear from you in a month, like think of how many messages people get. It's
Mm.
not a crazy thought to be like they'll forget about you in that time and that month touch is like, oh right, that guy. But it's like I just archived the email or deleted it, and then I basically forget you exist 10 minutes later. Whereas that weekly cadence, it's a lot harder to forget. And like, so this is like, for example, and this is kind of started as an accident of the effectiveness of it, but the puppy of the week we put in our weekly email or baby animal of the week. We get a lot of people who don't want to really read it each week, who open it anyways because they want to see the baby animal. Like the amount of times I'll get sales calls where people will be like, "Yeah, I actually had no intention of reading your email this week. I wasn't in the mood, but I just wanted to go down and see the puppy. Then this headline caught my eye and I booked a call." So it's like those little things can make it, but it's because we know that the email people like it. Um, so I was looking for something like that. So like for you right now, where would you say you are rank on long-term nurture?
Probably red.
Okay.
Or does
Red.
yellow mean I'm doing it but not enough?
So well, I mean, if you can't track any tangible results, it's more that, right? So it's like you know, it needs a lot of work. Um, Yellow's like, okay, maybe it's working, but it can definitely be very, very improved, right? It's kind of that. Green
Okay,
is
then
like,
I
all
would
right,
say
this
I'm
is humming.
yellow,
Okay.
because people mention it.
Yeah,
And I definitely have got some responses from
perfect.
our monthly that says, "Hey, will you come by?"
Yeah. Like at your size, I don't expect there to be a lot of red in any of this.
That's
Um,
fair. I
yeah,
just see what you're telling me,
yeah.
and I see that I've got room for improvement.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, even greens, everyone has some room for improvement. It's just how much to focus on it now. So the next one, which I also know you're pretty good on, is presentations that convert. Because obviously, if you're going to convert leads, you got to get in front of them, give them a presentation. So this is buyer presentation or seller presentation, depends which one you do more of. But right now, where would you say you rank on there?
I'd say we're green there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, conversion is where I would expect you to also be the strongest across most of this because that's kind of your skill set.
Yep.
All right. So then the last section, which is basically what we call the lifetime client program. So this is like staying in touch without being annoying. I know you're good here, but there's three core components of this. One of them I actually just made up. So you probably have nothing for this, but you probably can fit some stuff into it. So the first one, which I know you're good at, and it's partially how I refer to it, inspired by you, which is five-star service.
Let's go.
So I'm pretty sure we can put green for you on that without even going more in depth.
Be
Uh,
all right.
yeah, we'll do okay with that. So then the next one is loyalty events. So this would be for
I've been improving K3
yeah,
Farms, and in the middle of the month here, we've rented an entire launch pad.
nice.
We have, oh, I think a couple hundred people confirmed already. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So
So I'd probably say you're probably green on that one from what I know.
I
How do
am
you
now,
feel?
but there was
Yeah,
some gaps before.
yeah.
And I
Okay.
went too far. I went ultra green. You don't need to have a carnival.
Yeah.
Client events are probably better more often and not as
Yeah.
large.
And if you're starting out and you're newer in the business, like you don't need big events. It could be just grab five people, go to dinner. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, don't overthink it all the time. Start smaller if you're smaller, and then
But if
grow.
you're gonna throw some cash at it, petting zoos. If you're after families with kids like I am, petting zoos are where it's at.
What's that movie where they're like, no, it's a reverse petting zoo? Popped in my head. Okay, so the last one is it's also a little bit of like, yeah, for some, a mindset shift in how they approach referrals past clients, which is what we call the VIP program. Which the idea behind this would be like, let's say you get your commission. I did a reel about this recently, and let's say we know the average person moves every 5 to 7 years. If you took what you make on commission and then spread that out over 7 years and said that's actually essentially the cost of them being a member of my membership group. What do they get a value each year to be worth it? Right. So,
Hmm.
like, here's like, for example, like if I was building one out, some of the things I would do would be like an annual CMA at minimum. Sometimes some people do even more than that, but it's like every year they know they're going to get an up-to-date valuation on their home. There was a team that we worked with years and years ago. Actually, we didn't really, I did like a little bit of consulting. It wasn't like an ongoing thing. And I actually love this. They have a handyman on staff. They were a bigger team. And every past client gets 1 day a year with a handyman. Um, and the handyman then also gets like their listings ready if they need it. And then what she said with the team leader, which I found funny, is anytime he didn't have a day of something to do, just go work on her house. So he's like, house is in tip top shape.
Very nice.
And like other
Nice
one here,
write-off.
unique angle that I like here is also like, and this could be quarterly or monthly. I actually really like the idea of doing it monthly. Is a Zoom series for your clients that is like, let's bring a designer on and you interview them for 20 minutes, you get that content for social, turn off the recording, or at least don't make this part public, and you have your clients be able to ask Q and like do an open Q&A with an expert related to something probably house related, but it could be niche. Like, so like with you, you'd have a lot of young families, you could like bring on a parenting expert, you could bring in different people that they might want to listen and talk to. That person gets the opportunity of getting in front of a ton of potential clients, and you also get some content for your social. So it's like, here's a private opportunity to do that. It's like interior designers, landscapers, architects, things like that. Bring them in. Like, I would, if I were sales, I do that every month because it's good to make the connection with people, get other people in front of them, but it's also a benefit that they get being part of your network. So, or like a referral program where it's like, it'd be negotiate discounts with suppliers, be like, hey, use my name when you're at these places and you get 5% off or something. But it's like, what are the benefits you could offer people that for being kind of in your world that they get
Yeah, I
ongoing?
think that's a big retention thing, from my perspective, is I'm spending money on working with them next time.
Yeah.
Uh, when we take a look at what we do now, we just send out home show tickets, which is something
Okay.
that we do every year. We also send out a tax assessment letter. Quarterly, we send recent sales in their neighborhood, what we call the three sales email, that pretty popular actually.
Yep.
We also right now it'll be two client events, probably a third one that's for people that don't have kids because that's a growing group inside of our
Yep.
client database, mostly as our ideal client group gets older.
Yeah.
And then what else do we have in there? Oh, Christmas jars
Yep. Remember that one.
and six notepads.
An easy one for you to add in, which especially because you work with families is good. Just get your photographer and go to a park for a day and be like, come get free family photos.
I've done that before.
Yeah. They
Yep.
work well. Bring your pet, get a headshot if you need it. Um, they work great.
Oh, the other thing is you should be doing things like this. So remember when people say thank you to you is an opportunity to make an exchange. So you can say no problem and throw it away. Or you can say, hey, if roles are reversed, I know you'd do it for me, which from like the idea of influence is kind of where you want to be. So imagine that somebody just gets one of the Popeyes you do or something else you do, and then they say thank you.
Yeah.
Couldn't you say, hey, if I sent you a link, would you be open to supporting my business with a 5-star review? I have some 5-star reviews that say we worked with Taylor 10 years ago, and he still shows up to our house. Like he knows our
Can't get rid of them.
family. Yeah, like, but
Yeah.
like from a real positive aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have a ton of past people that have never given you a review, a really kind of easy tactic is partner with someone. They don't have to be from your market, But like, let's say I was still selling, I could be like, all right, Taylor and I, like, you can send an email. It's basically like, hey, Taylor and I, this agent out in Edmonton that I work and friends with, we're having a competition. We're each putting up 500 bucks, and you don't have to use 500. I'm just using that as a number here. You can do 50 bucks, whatever. And it's like whoever gets more Google reviews in the next 30 days, the money we're both putting up goes to that person's charity. Can you
That'd
help
be
me?
awesome.
Right? Just like a really simple, here's an incentive. You also feel good about it because it's going to charity. So it's like who's ever gets the most 5-star reviews in the next 30 days.
Choose
Uh,
an agent from your team's rival city.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
In Edmonton, it's
Yeah.
Calgary. It's so easy.
I mean, right now I'd pick someone in the States and be like, I'm competing with this American.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
You add that little extra there and you'll get a few more people coming out.
Yeah, the newsjacking on tariffs right now is
Yeah.
real.
Oh, like I didn't even mean it as a political thing, and I put that post up. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook, where I was like, we've had a lot of people ask REM for a list of Canadian vendors. So I was like, all right, we'll put one together. Send us your list, and yeah, we got a it was a lot of fun. Got a lot
That's
of
awesome.
DMs on that one. People were worried,
Hmm.
but yeah.
So, is there anything else that we want to measure as part of the
So,
ACE?
VIP program, where do you rank? Where do you feel you rank on that?
My VIP program's decent. Like, we definitely send out gifts for referrals,
Yeah.
uh, but we should be doing things like exclusive client events and putting more towards this.
So would you say yellow or green?
I'm definitely yellow.
Okay. So just to recap where we are. So niche, which is so the to attract leads, you're good with your niche. You need to improve your offers and improve on your content that connects. Then
Yep.
on the conversion side, you're green with hand raisers, yellow on your long-term nurture, and then you're green on your presentations, and then you're green on your 5-star service, green on your client events, and yellow on your VIP program. So the way that then I would say is like, and we can even just next few episodes start knocking these out together even too, is we start at the ones that are the biggest need. So like when we're looking at working with someone and consulting on their business, when we do this exercise with them, we then say, okay, so here's where you are on each of them. Um, we'll then just like 1 through 9 make the priority of what we're going to work on. Right.
Hmm.
So like tomorrow, for example, like I'm sitting down with a team in Toronto in their office, and the first little bit's gonna be me doing this with them. And then that day we're gonna just then, okay, so we know where we have to work on today together. So for you, it would be like I would looking at this, I think one first priority would be kind of nailing those offers down because a lot of it's gonna come back to that. So we want to make sure we nail down the offers. And that's more on the buyer side. Maybe there's some refinement even on the seller one potentially, or the flow of it, but we can look at that. And then I think once you have those down, we want to nail down the content that connects because that what gets people to see the offers. Because
Hmm.
you're pretty good on conversion, um, and from like an urgency standpoint, long-term nurture is not an urgent thing. So that, and then you're green on the other. So we'd actually then come down, I would say, I'd still actually say we should review your hand raises, even though you're green on that. I think because if we're getting more people to come in, I think there's some opportunities there to get more.
Mm.
So I would
Okay.
say, even though it's green, I think just from a get some ROI in, get some stuff like that, we could make that even better. So I'd actually put improving the hand raisers at 3. Then I would do the long-term nurture at 4. Um, and then I would say the VIP program at 5, client events at 6, and then um, presentations at 7, 5-star service at 8, and niche at 9. Would you agree or disagree with that order?
I think that's pretty good order. Yeah.
Okay. So that means next week we're going to talk. Well, one, we're going to talk about your email you sent out. But next week we're going to kind of work on nailing down your offers. It's
Sweet.
pretty good.
So we got some updates.
Yeah.
Um, Now we've been building this Hack and Co Insiders list. We're now at a whopping 9 folks on there. We're going to be working on crafting ads and different ways to get this out further and get people
Yeah.
to click in and go in.
Yeah.
Other thing that we've been working on is driving traffic off of MLS. So that's something that we've been using that key phrase of visit the realtor's website.
Yeah.
One of the suggestions that you made was to test it against using a priming sentence.
Yeah.
So we're putting up a suited property this week, and the priming phrase, I think it is properties like this will make you wonder about rental rates as the priming sentence, and then
Yeah.
visit the realtor's website for more information.
Yeah.
And then we're linking off. We've now made a property page where people can either opt in to get a showing, or they can opt in to become an insider for
Yeah.
more content and properties before they come to realtor.ca is basically the taglines.
And I'm curious, have like because you've obviously been tracking more now realtor.ca side of things. Now that you kind of adjusting like with the picture in picture style, have you seen an increase in views at all?
Actually, I have not reviewed our tracking
Okay.
from the realtor.ca stuff, so I should take a look at that.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you that even when I'm looking for our listings on realtor.ca, I just need to scan really quickly
Yeah.
and like they just jump out. So
Yeah.
what we found is that by using a picture of the exterior in a circle and the interior like kitchen shot as like the other part of the picture, that seems to be spicy.
Yeah. And if anyone's worried about that, like it is unbelievably easy to do on Canva, so don't worry about it. Like
Yep, for
unbelievably
sure.
easy. Just a drag and drop. It's pretty straightforward on that front.
Hmm.
Yeah, because yeah, like I'm curious how the just essentially putting visit our website on realtor.ca as the like call to action as the description, priming sentence or no. Because like there's kind of two possible outcomes, and there's no way to know without testing, which is one, you get way more traffic, way more leads on your site, which that's what we're aiming for. The other possibility is it kind of has the effect of houses that don't really put up photos where people write it off quicker and just move
Mm.
on to the next one. And that's where I would be curious on like if we're tracking, how many leads are we getting from each listing that goes up on average? Is it up? Is it down? Stuff like that. Um,
Yep. So we are tracking, we just haven't
yeah,
reviewed.
yeah. So yeah, we should look at that because I'd be very curious because like there is that risk that it goes the other way with it.
Mm.
Sometimes an incomplete, but maybe then it's just okay. Maybe we make that the priming sentence actually a couple sentences. So maybe it's not as in depth or it's just different information. Because sometimes just lighter information, there's that implication, oh, they must be hiding something
Mm.
we want to avoid.
Let's see. I think that's the right camera, but I had the wrong thing on the screen.
Yeah.
You see realtor.ca now?
Yep. You're good.
So this is the setup that we're looking for. So we have the exterior and the bubble. They can see its white cabinets inside. And then that's our priming sentence there.
It's kind of blurry on my end, so I can't. I also don't have my glasses on, so there's a chance it's that, but
No problem.
I can't
No
read
problem.
it.
It's yeah, so we're working out how to drive more traffic off there, how to get more people into an email list so we can get those hand raisers, right? It's good to know who you want to talk to. It's really tough to do marketing without knowing that. In the beginning, you may think that you want to talk to everybody, but you mostly can't afford to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
So instead, think about the people that you are most likely to have real estate conversations with and how you can have those conversations. Like that was the birth of an open house.
Yeah.
And then this is just an extrapolation of that.
And one that like I've been talking because I just have had a lot of conversations the last little while about niches. It's kind of two key points to remember on. Like the first one is like, you don't have to marry the niche forever.
Mm.
Niches can change, or like in your case where you have a team, like you could attack a niche through a specific team member and then have a different team member go to another one.
And we've done that.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be one, but like the main idea behind a niche, especially when you're starting in the industry, and this is going to be me attempting to justify paying for a history degree, is you got to establish a beachhead. It's like when allies invade Europe, they had to set up in Normandy, get a foothold, and then go to the rest of Europe because
Yeah,
they
because if
have
you
to
can't
have
land,
that
you're in
ability.
trouble.
Yeah, like you have to get that foothold. So like what I would say, and the numbers here can change slightly on market commission rates, all that, but like you should like hard niche until you can consistently know you're getting about 20 deals a year.
Mm.
Then you might look at, but I would personally not even look at expanding outside of my main niche until I'm closer to 50. But again, there are some markets, some situations, like if you're downtown Toronto, 20 deals can be a like much different revenue than 20 deals in Sudbury.
And a much different competition level.
Yeah. So like this is where there's some variations here market to market, but the idea being like you should know before you even consider getting out of the niche that you have of I am gonna make enough to make a living and not be like worried. Like I'm
I
gonna
like how
have that
Andy
consistency.
put that is do
Yeah.
lead generation activities until you get enough appointments. Like at 10 appointments, you can start to calculate your conversion rate.
Yeah.
If you have 10 seller appointments and you are converting less than 5 out of 10, you need to improve your presentation before you scale that, right? So get enough to kind of start to measure. And then once you measure, you can manage. And
Yeah.
that's really like what we're going to be talking about as we go through this. So Andrew's doing an analysis and we're measuring in traffic lights. We're measuring these like very easy to see. Here's where we should start to like look a little further. And now we're going to assign numbers to that. And then we're going to try to move the numbers that matter the most upward.
Simple.
And the reason you do it this way is because nobody has the attention span to move them all forward at once, or you suck. Like you're really low at the totem pole if you can
Yeah.
just dial it up everywhere, right?
And why I always try to like find a framework to put it in, especially like at your sites, right? Like you need to be able to communicate to your team how everything fits together, how it works, what we're working to do, right? So even just on that end, outside of the tracking and all that, it's like they need to know what we're doing and not feeling like, oh, he's just asking me to do this. I don't even know how this fits into a big picture, or is there a big picture,
Mm-hmm.
right? So to be able to be like, here's the whole process, but this is the part I'm having you take care of.
Mm.
So and that also helps them make better decisions if a new situation or challenge pops up they haven't dealt with before. Because now they understand, okay, this is what I'm actually trying to get them towards because I know how this fits in. Here it messed up. If they don't know that this is actually that next step that they're kind of owning people to get towards, they might take them this direction over here, at least this way where they know this is the goal. They can adjust the outcome, but like they know the objective here. It's like, okay, I got to still get here. How can I do that in this situation? So we
Mm-hmm.
find that like having that mapped out fully makes your team members more effective too. As long as you still have to like bring it to them and explain it to them, but having like a
And I
one
love that.
pager is great.
Yeah, like what we did here is we created a way to consistently get 5-star reviews, and then we told people about it.
Yeah, easy.
And those two things, like the more it's defined, the easier you can do it, the easier other people can do it. Like most civilizations, you start without anybody being able to speak. There's no verbal language. So if we wanted to go find the freshwater, we got to walk together, and every new person has to walk with you. As soon as you can tell somebody, you're going to cut that time down. And if you can put up a sign there that gives everyone the directions with no time cost, that's what the win looks like. Like, how many spots in your business can you do that to? How many spots in your business can you at least tell somebody to do? And how many spots in your business have to be you?
Yeah,
After you know you can do real estate, the whole game is efficiencies.
yeah. I was just scaling up from there. Like if you get this dialed in, now it's just all right. How much can I throw into the system? It's not
Hmm.
complicated. So we are approaching the end of the hour, which means we're about to turn off the recording. And for those who are still here live, you can stick around. We'll kind of shoot the shit off air. So if you have questions, you want to do stuff like that, we're gonna have a recording off conversation. So if you're watching the recording, come live next time so that you can just join this part because like literally we will answer anything and everything you want, chat about it and go from there. But for those watching the recording, appreciate you guys sticking around, watching it. Next week we'll be back to have me crap on Taylor's email that the 9 people get and then dive into his offers a bit. So we'll see
Just
you
just
next week.
offended that I'm doing this to nine people. He's like, you shouldn't send that to anybody.
9 people tomorrow. You just might as well call them and read it to them. So we will go over that next week. If you're here live, stick around. We're going to turn off the recording now and we'll keep chatting. Anyways, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.